She said, "I like you, but I'm not in love with you." I nodded and replied, "Thanks for the clarification." Then I started treating her like a roommate I just liked. Her panic when the romance, the gifts, and the good morning texts vanished. I'm 29, and I've been living with my girlfriend Sarah for 2 years. We've been together for 4 years total. Last week, she sat me down and told me she wasn't in love with me anymore. Maybe never was. But she didn't want to break up. She loved living together, loved our life, just wanted to be honest about her feelings. So I gave her exactly what she asked for. Honesty. No pressure. Just two people who like each other sharing an apartment. What happened next? She lost her mind. Not in an angry way. More like a, "Wait, I didn't mean it like that," kind of way. Here's how it all went down. It was a Tuesday evening. We'd just finished dinner, nothing fancy, just pasta and salad. Sarah asked if we could talk, and something in her voice made my stomach drop. She had that look, you know the one, like she'd been rehearsing this conversation in her head for days. We sat down at the kitchen table and she started with the classics. "I care about you so much. You're my best friend. You mean the world to me." I knew a but was coming. It always does. "But I'm not in love with you anymore. Maybe I never was. I don't know. I just know that I don't feel that passionate romantic love. I wanted to be honest with you because I respect you too much to pretend." I sat there, taking it in, asked her the obvious question. "Do you want to break up?" She looked almost panicked. "No, God, no. I love our life together. I love living with you. We're perfect together. We make such a great team. I don't want anything to change. I just wanted to be transparent about how I'm feeling." I nodded slowly. "Okay. So you want to keep living together? Keep doing everything we do, but you're not in love with me?" "Exactly." She seemed relieved that I understood. "I just value honesty, you know. I didn't want to lead you on." I thanked her for being honest, told her I appreciated her telling me. She smiled, hugged me, and went to the living room to watch her show like nothing had happened. I sat at that table for another 20 minutes, just processing. She wanted to keep living together, keep sharing a bed, keep sharing expenses, keep doing a couple of things. But she wasn't in love with me. She liked me. That's it. That night, I couldn't sleep, just kept replaying her words. And then it hit me. I have a friend named Marcus. I like Marcus. We hang out, we laugh, we help each other move furniture. But I'm not in love with Marcus. And I don't buy Marcus flowers. I don't take Marcus on romantic dates. I don't plan my future around Marcus. If Sarah only likes me, then she's going to get the treatment I give people I like. Nothing more, nothing less. By sunrise, I knew exactly what I was going to do. Day 1 was Thursday. I got up before Sarah, like usual, but no good morning kiss. No sleep well babe text when I left for work early. Just got ready and left. Around noon, she texted asking what I wanted for dinner. Normal couple thing. I replied, "I'll grab something on the way home. Thanks, though." Not cold, just friendly, like I'd text Marcus. On my way home, I stopped at the florist. I'd been getting Sarah roses every week for 3 years. Standing order, $15 a week. That's over $700 a year. For a roommate? Nah. I canceled it. That evening, she'd made dinner anyway. My favorite pasta. We ate together, talked about our days, normal stuff. After dinner, she cuddled up next to me on the couch. I gave her a brief side hug, then grabbed my laptop and moved to the armchair. She looked confused, didn't say anything. Day 2, Friday, deep cleaned the entire apartment. Then I reorganized. Moved all my stuff, my toiletries, my products, everything to the guest bathroom. Set up the guest room as my bedroom and office. Bought my own towels, my own body wash, my own snacks. Created actual separation like roommates would have. When Sarah got home from work, she walked through the apartment with a bewildered look. "What's all this?" "I thought we should have our own spaces," I said, "since we're basically roommates now." "Roommates?" Her voice went up an octave. "We're still together." "How does that work?" I asked calmly. If you're not in love with me? She got frustrated. Said lots of couples aren't in love but still have relationships. They make it work. It's about partnership, not just feelings. I shook my head. That sounds like friends with benefits, and I'm not interested in that arrangement. She didn't know what to say to that. Day 3, Saturday, she tried a grand gesture. Came home with this huge order of fancy sushi from that expensive place downtown. $85 worth. I wanted to do something special for us, she said, smiling. I thanked her, ate my portion, and immediately Venmo'd her $42.50, her half. What are you doing? She asked, staring at her phone. Splitting dinner. That's what roommates do. Then I went to the gym instead of staying for our usual Saturday movie night. While I was on the treadmill, my phone blew up. 12 texts in 40 minutes. Why are you being like this? We need to talk. Please come home. You're acting so weird. I replied to the group of texts with one message. Being like what? I thought you'd be happy. You were honest about your feelings, and now I'm being honest too. No pressure, no expectations. Just two people who like each other sharing a space. When I got home, she was waiting up, and she was not happy. Day 4, Sunday morning, Sarah cornered me. Said we needed to talk, right now. She accused me of being petty and childish, of punishing her for being vulnerable. I stayed completely calm. I'm not punishing you. I'm matching your energy. You want a friend? You've got one. A good one. I'll split bills, do my share of chores, and be pleasant company. But the boyfriend experience, the romance, the dates, the gifts, the emotional labor, planning our future, that's for someone who's actually in love with me. She didn't like that answer. Then I pulled up my banking app, showed her the last 4 months of expenses. I'd been covering about 80% of everything. Dinners out, concert tickets, that weekend trip to the mountains, her birthday celebration. I'd been funding our relationship while she just went along for the ride. I made a quick spreadsheet right there on my phone, calculated her half of everything, sent her a Venmo request for $2,340. Her jaw dropped. Are you serious right now? Those were gifts. I gave gifts to my girlfriend, I said. You're not my girlfriend. You're my friend whom I like. Friends split costs. She just stared at her phone, speechless. Day 5, Monday evening, her best friend Jessica showed up. Clearly, Sarah had sent reinforcements. We ordered pizza, and I paid for exactly 1/3 of it. Jessica kept making these comments about how cold I was being, how Sarah was just being vulnerable and honest, how relationships evolve and change. Finally, I looked at Jessica. Would you want to date someone who told you they're not in love with you? Silence. Would you want your boyfriend doing all the boyfriend things, taking you on dates, buying you gifts, planning your future together, all while knowing he doesn't actually love you? More silence. Sarah kicked her under the table. I saw it. Not subtle at all. Day 6, Tuesday. The car emergency happened. Sarah's transmission failed. $1,800 to fix. For the past 3 years, I'd always helped her with major car expenses. That's what partners do. She texted me at work. The car broke down. Transmission. Can you help? I'll pay you back, I promise. I replied, that's really tough. Maybe the mechanic has payment plans? My phone rang immediately. She was almost in tears. Said she couldn't get a payment plan because her credit was shot from some old student loan issues I didn't even know about. She needed help. I suggested asking her parents or Jessica. But you always help me with this stuff, she said. I help my girlfriend with this stuff, I said. Roommates don't usually cover each other's major expenses. She took a $58 Uber to work for the next 3 days. Day 7, Wednesday night, she completely broke down. Full tears, sobbing, the works. I didn't mean it like that when I said I wasn't in love with you. I was just confused, maybe depressed. I do love you. I am in love with you. I just got scared of how serious things were getting. I looked at her calmly. So, were you lying then, or are you lying now? She froze, then got defensive, said I was manipulating her, twisting her words. I pulled out my phone. I'd written notes after our original conversation, word for word. I read them back to her. Everything she'd said, how she wasn't in love with me, how she wanted to be honest, how she didn't want anything to change. Then I asked her to show me her texts from that night. She hesitated, but eventually did. There it was, text to her sister. Finally told Jake I'm not in love with him. feel so relieved being honest. She tried to claim that's not what she meant, but the evidence was right there. Day 8, Thursday, Sarah went nuclear. She called her parents, put them on speakerphone, and told them I was being emotionally abusive, that I was withdrawing affection after she'd been vulnerable with me, that I was punishing her for being honest about her feelings. Her dad asked her to explain exactly what happened. So she did. Told them she'd admitted she wasn't in love with me, but that she didn't want to break up, and now I was being cold and distant. There was dead silence on the other end of the phone. Then her dad said, "Let me get this straight. You told him you don't love him, but you're upset that he's not acting like he loves you." Even her mom, who usually takes Sarah's side in everything, said, "Sweetheart, what did you expect him to do?" The call ended pretty quickly after that. Sarah threw her phone on the couch and locked herself in her room. Day 9, Friday, I thought things couldn't get more absurd. I was wrong. I came home from work to find my parents sitting in my living room. My parents, who live 3 hours away, just sitting there on my couch with Sarah, who was crying delicately into a tissue. My mom jumped up when I walked in. "Honey, why didn't you tell us you were going through such a hard time?" Turns out Sarah had called them, told them she was worried about me, that I'd been acting strange, withdrawing from everyone, and she was genuinely concerned for my mental health. She'd convinced them to drive 3 hours for an intervention. I sat down very calmly and explained the entire situation. How Sarah had told me she wasn't in love with me, how I'd accepted that and adjusted our relationship accordingly, how she was now upset that I wouldn't continue being her boyfriend after she explicitly said she didn't love me romantically. My dad, who's usually pretty quiet, looked directly at Sarah. "You called us here because my son won't date someone who doesn't love him?" My mom was processing it all. She turned to Sarah. "Sweetheart, if you're not in love with him, why are you still here?" The waterworks started again. Sarah sobbed about how she was going through something, and I was abandoning her in her time of need, and how cruel I was being by punishing her honesty. My mom, scared me directly. "Are you punishing her?" I pulled out my phone, showed them my bank statements, the weekly flowers, the dinner dates, the concert tickets, the weekend trips, all one-sided, all from my account. Then I showed them my current expenses. Everything is split 50-50 like roommates. "I'm not punishing her, Mom. I'm just not subsidizing her lifestyle anymore." My dad actually laughed. "Good for you, son." That's when Sarah completely lost it. Accused me of turning my parents against her, said I was being manipulative and financially abusive for asking her to pay her fair share. My mom's patience, which is usually endless, finally ran out. She turned to Sarah with this deadly, calm voice. "Honey, you've been letting my son pay for your entire life while telling him you don't love him, and you dare to call him abusive?" They left about 10 minutes later. My dad shook my hand on the way out. My mom whispered that she never really liked Sarah anyway. The rest of the week was a rotation of tactics. Thursday, love bombing. She cooked elaborate meals, bought my favorite beer, and wore that dress I'd mentioned I liked 2 years ago. I thanked her politely, paid for my half of the groceries, and went about my day. Friday, anger. Screaming about how I'd humiliated her in front of my parents, how I was a sociopath for being so cold. I recorded the whole thing, just in case. When she was done, I calmly asked if she'd found an apartment yet. Saturday, bargaining. Maybe we could try again, start fresh. She'd go to therapy to figure out her feelings. We could do couples counseling. I said, "No thanks. I don't need therapy to know I deserve someone who's actually in love with me." Day 13, Monday. I woke up to a flood of texts from mutual friends. Sarah had posted on social media about our breakup. We weren't officially broken up, but whatever. Here's where it got creative. She claimed I'd been financially controlling throughout our entire relationship, that I'd isolated her from friends, that I'd manipulated her into dependency, and she had evidence, screenshots of Venmo requests. Taken completely out of context, it looked like I was nickel and diming her for everything. I didn't respond publicly. Instead, I started a group chat with the friends who'd reached out, shared the full story, screenshots of her texts saying she wasn't in love with me, The itemized list showed I'd covered 80% of our expenses for years. Even the recordings of her meltdowns, which are legal in our state since we're a one-party consent state. One by one, they started to get it. Her narrative fell apart pretty quickly when people realized she wanted me to keep funding her entire life after telling me she didn't love me. The best response came from our mutual friend Chris. So, she friend-zoned you, but wanted to keep the boyfriend benefits package? That's insane. Sarah's post mysteriously disappeared by evening. Day 14, Tuesday, she finally started packing. Quietly, efficiently, no drama. I found out from Jessica, who actually reached out to apologize for judging me, that Sarah's parents had read her the riot act after seeing the social media disaster. Apparently, they were mortified. They offered to pay her security deposit somewhere just to get her out of my apartment. Day 15, Wednesday. She'd been making trips to her car all morning. We hadn't spoken since Monday, just moved around each other like ghosts. Around noon, she knocked on my door. I was in the guest room, now my office. She said she wanted to talk one last time. She sat down and finally admitted it. It was a test. She'd read some article about brutal honesty in relationships and wanted to see if I'd fight for her. She thought telling me she wasn't in love would make me try harder, be more romantic, prove my worth. Instead, I took her at her word. "I didn't think you'd actually stop loving me," she said quietly. "I didn't stop loving you, Sarah. I stopped showing it to someone who told me they didn't want it." She asked if there was any chance for us. I said no. She nodded, said she understood, and left. As I'm sitting here, I can hear her loading the last boxes into her car. And you know what the craziest part is? I'm not even sad. I'm relieved. These past 2 weeks have shown me exactly who she was. Someone who wanted all the benefits of a relationship without any of the emotional investment. Someone who'd test my love instead of treasuring it. Someone who'd rather manipulate than communicate. The apartment already feels lighter. I'm thinking I'll repaint this weekend. Definitely getting better coffee. She always bought the cheap stuff but expected me to spring for the good wine. Do you know how much emotional energy I was spending on someone who wasn't in love with me? The mental load of planning dates she'd barely appreciate, the anxiety of buying gifts for someone who wouldn't reciprocate, the effort of maintaining a romance that wasn't being returned. I'm sleeping better now, hitting the gym harder, actually hanging out with my friends instead of prioritizing her every whim. My bank account is already looking healthier. I'm taking a break from dating for a while. Want to rediscover what I actually like versus what I did to make her happy. I already signed up for that photography class I mentioned 2 years ago. She said it was a waste of money back then. Oh, and for anyone wondering, yes, I'm keeping the apartment. The lease is in my name. I can afford it solo, and it's in a great location. She's moving in with Jessica. Good luck to both of them. About an hour after she left, she texted asking if I'd reconsider when she's had time to work on herself. I didn't respond, just blocked her number. Sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or elaborate. Sometimes it's just taking someone at their word and letting them live with the consequences. Going forward, I'm only investing in someone who's actually in love with me,